My name is Wendy. I'm a compulsive overeater and bulimic. I'm in recovery for today. Um, this morning, I thought I would base my share on the promises, because I feel that in this it's an incredibly dark time. Everywhere, it's an incredibly dark time, and I've spoken to so many fellows over the last couple of weeks and people outside the fellowship who are really struggling with the sense of heaviness that they're feeling in the world. And I really just wanted to kind of focus on hope. And I think one of the most hopeful things in the big book is the promises. It always makes me feel it makes me feel very emotional when I read the promises. And I love sending the promises to newcomers, and I love sending the promises to people who are thinking about joining other fellowships as well. Just saying, look, this will happen. This happens. I promise you it'll happen. Not all at once and not all the time and not all the promises on every single day, but it'll happen. And I also wanted to sit here. The sun's coming up just behind me, as well. Um, so yes, just to qualify myself as a compulsive overeater, I joined OA in January 2012. At that point, I was physically a lot larger than I am, but I was also bulimic. I was purging up to 10 times a day. Um, I have been a compulsive overeater for as long as I can remember, from the very moment that I had access to certain food groups. That was it for me. Those food groups were very restricted in my household growing up, because me and my sibling, I am kind of small and sturdy. I am a strong girl, you know. You're putting a patio down in the back garden, you want me? I can pick up a block of concrete. I'm a strong girl. I'm a broad girl, you know. My brother is tall and thin and long. And so there was so much comparison there. It's nothing to do with my brother. And I'm not a compulsive overeater because of how my parents behaved. I'm a compulsive overeater. My brother and I had exactly the same childhood, and yet I've, developed these or at least fallen into these behaviors, and my brother hasn't. And why do I do things? Why do I pick up food? Because I'm a compulsive overeater. It's not because I've had a hard day. It's not because someone's done something to me. It's not because somebody's offered me one of my trigger foods. It's because I am a compulsive overeater. That compulsive eating led me to, as a child, stealing money from my parents to buy food. As an adult, when I was taking care of my next door neighbor's goldfish, stealing food from her cupboards. But mostly it just led me to a place of utterly, utterly, utterly hating myself, utterly hating myself. And by the time I came into fellowship, my child was 5 years old, and I just wanted them to go to sleep at night so that I could binge. And on a Sunday, his dad would go out. Every Sunday night he would go out, and that was amazing because that was my hyper binge. I mean, I was binging constantly anyway. I don't think there was a time when I'd have like two pre-breakfast, breakfast, two post-breakfast, lunch. I'd eat on the way home. I'd eat while I was making dinner. I'd eat dinner. I'd eat after dinner. And whenever I felt too full, I'd have to remove the food. What a way to live. So yeah, that was I'd wake up every single Monday morning and I felt terrible. But weirdly, 14 years ago today, Valentine's Day, um, I had just found a sponsor. I sent her my food commitment for the day and I ate that. And I did it the next day and I did it the next day. I stayed with that sponsor for 5 years. I was extremely privileged to have the same sponsor for 5 years. And she was an incredible woman. And her words still clash around in my, it drives me mad. Her words still clash around in my head sometimes. And she's still a friend. And at some point today, she'll get the message that she always gets on Valentine's Day that I love her. And she saved my life. Um, and I was again exceptionally privileged to remain abstinent for 12 years. And unfortunately, in December the 13th, 2024, I picked up. I walked into my house, I picked up food, I hid it underneath my clothes so that my son couldn't see me. I went to my bed, I sat in my bed and I ate it. I then hid the box of food. And I was like, this isn't a slip, this is a relapse because this is everything you can possibly imagine. So I am just over a year abstinent, but I've been in the fellowship for 14 years. And again, I'm extremely grateful that I had something to wake up the next morning,
10
tell my
minutes,
sponsor,
Wendy.
sorry,
10 minutes.
thank you.
10 minutes to go. Thank
I
you.
was able to tell my sponsor the next morning and just get back on it. I was also chair of my home group, so I had to step down from that because you need 6 months abstinence for that. So I'm back being chair of my home group, thankfully. Um, but yes, the promises. Let's have a look at the promises. Here they are. Look at this is my big book. This is my third copy of the big book. I don't know what happened to the first two. It's got a coffee stain on the front. It's full of writing. I used to attend a big book study meeting every single week, so there's barely a page in this book that isn't written on. So the promises. And this is the thing about, and you know this, I know you know this, but this is the thing about all of the literature that we're given in the fellowships, all of the fellowships. They're written so, so, so carefully. Just every single word means something. The last time I went through the steps with my sponsor, we were going through essentially the 12 steps word for word. So let's have a look at this. If we are painstaking about this phase of our recovery, we will be amazed before we are halfway through. Painstaking. What does that mean? It means at first that there's a bit of pain, really. It certainly did in my experience. Um, about this phase of our development. So it's not saying, you know, it's not saying you're wrong. It's not saying change everything. It's saying develop. This is a new chapter. This is where we're headed to. If we are painstaking about this phase of our development, we will be amazed before we are halfway through. So there's 12 steps. So by the time you're at six, you've already done step four and you've said it out loud. You've already found a higher power and you've admitted to yourself that there's something different about you. And you've accepted that perhaps you can get some help from somewhere, which I think is absolutely incredible. And my experience of handing over to a higher power. I love that. I love that in your preamble you talk about atheists and agnostics being welcome here. It's such an important message because I didn't come in here with a God. Um, I don't believe in God, but God really, really believes in me. And God just sticks with me constantly, even though I'm going, well, logically you can't possibly exist. And God's going, yeah, really? Okay, get out your bed and make the bed. Like, okie dokie. It's the most loving parent, my higher power, that I've ever had, the most consistent loving parent that I've ever had. And that voice is inside me. And that's incredible. So having that doing my step four and five with my sponsor to the very, very first time and having a huge resentment that was eating away at me, that was so corrosive. I always remember my sponsor turning to me and going, are you ready to let her go? And she went, and she's never come back. One of the most corrosive resentments and pains I've ever held in my life. Just, woo. So yeah, I was amazed before it was halfway through. We're going to know a new freedom and a new happiness. So, in terms of freedom, I have a structure. I try to attend a meditation meeting most mornings, but certainly I start my day with a conversation with my higher power. I start my day by moving my body. I move every parts of my body if I possibly can. I start my day with my medication. I'm nearly 50, and probably due to years of childhood trauma, I have an autoimmune condition, which means that I need to take steroids. So, because if I don't, I would just sneeze and cough. I'm just allergic to absolutely everything all of a sudden. And then you can hear that in my voice. I'm sneezing, I'll blow my nose, blah, blah, blah. It's just how it is at the moment. But I have a structure. I have a structure to my life. I have my 3 meals a day. I actually review in the morning because if I was reviewing last thing at night, you would get nothing. Were you resentful? Yeah, why? Cause people. I can't do it. So I have to do my reviews in the morning because it's the only way that I can do it with any kind of degree of. It's the only way I can do it in a robust and vigorous way. So if I do it at night, it's rubbish. Um, and within that structure is absolute freedom because I'm not thinking about the food because I know what I'm going to have for lunch. I know what I'm going to have for breakfast. I know when I'm going to eat mostly. If things change, I know that I have movement within that plan. I know that there are things that I absolutely cannot eat,
Five
and there
minutes
are,
left, Wendy.
thank you, there are
Five.
ways that I absolutely cannot eat. And other than that, I have absolute freedom. There was a reading of the day a couple of days ago that talked about just really living. I never lived before this. My whole life was, how do I get food? Get the food in, get the food out. That was all I lived for. Will not regret the past nor wish to shut the door on it. And again, now 14 years in, I have astonishing relationships and I can look at my past, and there's a line in the big book where they say self-knowledge availed us nothing. I now understand completely why I'm a compulsive overeater. I understand what it is that I'm trying to tamp down with all of that food. I know what it is that I'm trying to numb out. I understand that when I'm feeling lonely or abandoned or rejected, I feel it in my stomach. I understand that. I feel it under my rib cage and it feels like emptiness. I get that I always wanted to fill that, but it doesn't stop me being a compulsive overeater. Nothing does. The only thing that halts this illness on a daily basis is this program. So, can I deal with what happened to me as a child? Yes. Can I talk about it now? Yes. Do I understand it all? Yes. Was it horrible? Yes. Is that okay? That's fine. Will we comprehend? We will comprehend the word serenity and we will know peace. That's just wow. I can rest now. Imagine that. I am a woman who can sit down and do nothing without guilt. It's absolutely remarkable. It took me years to get there, but it's absolutely true. I can be at peace. I can be at peace with my decisions. I can be at peace with my bad days because I have my higher power going, oh, that sucked, but we got through it, eh? And it's just the best feeling. No matter how far down the scale we have gone, we will see how our experience can benefit others. I can tell you that I stole things from my next door neighbor. I can talk about anything. I have a sponsor who knows my nastiest feelings, my most selfish feelings. And I can tell you right now that actually, do you know what? I'll hold this for the next bit. That feeling of uselessness and self-pity will disappear. Self-pity is the most corrosive feeling that I experience, and it is the one that takes me towards the food the most. But it will disappear because I can say to my higher power, everything, there are days when you have to say to your higher power, everything is rubbish. And your higher power will go, yeah, but it's okay and it'll pass. Rather than counting your sorrows, you count your blessings and you move on, or at least that's what I've been doing. Self-seeking will slip away. Our whole attitude and outlook upon life will change night and day. My child, who's now 18 years old, is the kindest, most empathetic, most compassionate, most wonderful person. And I know that that's because for the majority of his life, I've been in the fellowship, and it's like a drop in the water and it's rippled out. And the nearest person to me is my child. And they've been able to absorb all of the love and kindness that you guys give me that I can give to my son, that my higher power gives to me that I can give to my son. Because before I was just like food, 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 pain, pain, pain. And I can now radiate out, and you guys radiate to me, and I radiate to you, and we're all linked. Um, our whole attitude and outlook upon life will change. Fear of people and economic insecurity will leave us. I'm terrified of people still, but I just get on with it now because I'm like, well, it's really unlikely that you're going to hit me. And if you do, I'm going to call the police. So I'm just not, I don't have that terror of people anymore. We will intuitively know how to handle situations which used to baffle us. No, I don't, but I can shut my eyes, lean back into my higher power, and wait for instruction. Oh, we will suddenly realize our God is doing for us what we could not do for ourselves. Thank you, God. I can't do this. I can't do this, but suddenly it's being done. It's being done. I'm living this beautiful, beautiful life. Are these extravagant promises? We think not. Um, I have the most beautiful life. I have the most beautiful child. I have the most beautiful relationships. I have serenity. I have peace. Later on, I'm going to go to my face-to-face group. It's going to be full of people. I'm going to laugh right from my toes up to my eyebrows. I'm going to feel things. I'm going to feel safe. I'm going to walk out of there. I'm going to be a couple of inches off the ground. I'll be there for the rest of the day. During the week, I'm going to have bad times. I'm going to do outreach. If there's no one around for outreach, I'm going to talk to my higher power. Good Lord, I have this structure. Within that structure, I have absolute freedom. And within that absolute freedom, there is joy and there is peace. Not every single day, but there is joy and there is peace. And it's because of everybody in this room and everybody around the world who's part of this fellowship and everyone who ever was and everyone who ever will be. We are a huge safety net for each other. There's so many things that we can lean into. There's so many of us.
Time's up, Wendy.
Thank you, Anne. Um, we have each other, we have our fellowship, and most importantly, we have our higher power. So yeah, thank you so much for allowing me to share that. I actually feel probably look, the sun's come up. Thank you so much for letting me share that. It's been lovely. It's been a lovely way to start the day. Thank you.